It's another episode of the RSL Random Fan Podcast. I'm your host, Brant Goebel. I am joined by Scott Omer, again from the Designated Pundits. We have a great conversation. We talk about the surprise of RSL having such a great start to the season, third place at the World Cup break. We talk about Xavier Gozo. We talk about Diego Luna. We talk about all of the surprises that have made Real Salt Lake talk of Major League Soccer so far this season. We talk about the World Cup, the U.S. men's national team, and a whole lot more on this episode. Also, hit that subscribe button at our YouTube channel. Follow us, like us, leave us a review. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Do us a favor. We appreciate it. And have a great time listening to this episode. Right now, let's jump into the big story. World Cup. What are your thoughts on the World Cup? Is it going to be a giant mess? Do they know what they're doing? Is it going to be epic? Or are they just going to play the games and we'll forget about all of the off the field BS, the ticketing fiascos, and the
Yeah,
way they are
yeah.
just trying to abuse soccer fans in the United States, assuming that we'll just pay anything to go and watch a soccer game.
Oh boy. Yes, off with the hard questions. Little column A, little column B, don't you think? Because think back, right? South Africa 2010. There was a lot of controversy about that one because South Africa had to build all the stadiums. They didn't have anything, right? They had to build all the infrastructure brand new. They spent a ton of money on that. There were all sorts of questions about crime rates in South Africa, stuff like that. And once the ball started rolling and stuff, what did we end up talking about? Vuvuzelas, right?
Yeah,
Like we
that's
moved
right.
on. Um, Brazil 2014. Um, same sort of thing actually. Brazil had to build a lot of infrastructure. And I actually went to that World Cup, and I flew into Manaus to watch a US men's national team game, and the airport wasn't done. Um, group stages going. We're like games into this. We're like a week into this tournament, and the
Didn't
airport's
they have
not
like?
done.
Didn't they build like a stadium or refurbish a stadium in the middle of the jungle somewhere, or out in the
Yeah.
middle of nowhere?
Yeah, I think that was the one in Manaus, which is, I mean, it's in the city, but yeah, they did. They got a brand new stadium in Manaus. They have a team there that plays in the first division in Brazil, but you know, they're not drawing that kind of crowd every week. That was the thing though. They had, there was all sorts of questions about whether or not it was the right use of money and stuff like that in Brazil. I guess all I'm saying is there have been controversies with every single one, right?
Yeah,
Russia,
Russia. Yeah,
2018, Qatar, 2022.
sports washing with using sports to wash away,
Hmm.
all of
Yeah,
their whatever.
no, yeah, nothing new under the sun. And I'm not saying that to belittle our current issues. They're very real. And the ticket price gouging that FIFA is doing to the fans is ridiculous. Some of the other stuff, I don't want to go into everything, but just some of it is absolutely ludicrous and all of it's valid, but we have kind of this short memory to think like that all these other World Cups happened without it. They kind of did. There were different problems. They didn't have the same problems that we had. They had some of the same problems, um, but they all had some sort of level of controversy and issue. And once the ball got rolling, we put our focus into the game. And it's not that we forgot about other stuff. People continued to talk about it. They continued to write about it. People wrote about uh, the
Migrant workers
the
in Qatar,
slave,
and
yeah, the
yeah,
slave labor used in Qatar, or the Qatar's laws on homophobia and stuff like that,
human rights. I
human
mean, that seemed to
rights.
be an issue with all of those
Mhm.
previous Russia.
Yep. So I think that we will find that balance once the games start going. We're going to find that balance. and we'll probably continue to talk about it. I think we'll see some evidence of the high prices with crowds that are not as engaged maybe as they were in previous World Cups because average fans, the really passionate, salt of the earth people haven't been able to get tickets. Um, we
We'll
may
see
see
though. People,
stadiums that are not full.
yeah, you will see that the prices will come down. I've seen there was one of them they were using one of the games that with not the marquee countries and the
Mhm.
resales at $7 or something.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, so we'll see some of that kind of stuff, how that stuff goes. But broadly, I think I think what we're going to see is we're going to see a bunch of guys play soccer, and we're going to see some stuff come out of that that's good. We'll see some other stuff that's less good. It's an expanded field this year. I think that the teams on the bottom end of the field, we're going to see some of those guys get steamrolled by the better teams in their groups, but we're going to see some of those teams also make incredible plays. We'll see some of their stars shine. And I think there will be a lot to entertain us, I guess. I'm looking forward to watching as much of it as I can on TV, mostly, but you know, I don't know. It's the World Cup. I'm trying to listen to music and get myself hyped, even though it does the lead up to this. I don't know about you. It just to me it feels less.
yeah,
I
they've
feel
somehow they have found the ability to shoot themselves in the foot and for the most part suck all of the anticipation and the joy out of the world's game uh, when it should be a no-brainer. It should be easy to make this the most excited, the best, the most anticipated World Cup in history. It should have been. We should be talking about. We shouldn't be
Mhm.
concerned about tickets not being sold. They'll eventually get sold, but yeah, I think it's just been one misstep after another, and maybe that shouldn't be surprising with FIFA, but yeah,
Yeah.
it has been. It sucked.
We
I'll
we
watch
have
as many games as
yeah.
possible, but the anticipation, yeah, all the other stuff has just been. It's like, how do you? They've invested a lot of time and effort to make this thing unattractive.
They
So,
have even down to the World Cup song this year,
oh,
right?
thank you, Shakira. Thank you,
I for real, all the Latin American
saving us.
talent that we have, all the international flavor that we have in this country, and Jelly Roll releases the most AI slop sounding song that just has nothing to do with anything. Like, oh my
It
gosh.
was. It's like
It's
people are saying it's not the worst World Cup song ever. It's the worst song ever.
it's
But
just bad.
thankfully, Shakira bailed us out, and
I
Die Die
know.
is much more World Cup appropriate.
Oh, it absolutely sounds like it belongs um in that World Cup genre.
So let's
Um
talk about the World Cup, the U.S. men's national team. What are your
yeah,
thoughts
I
on
was
that? I was been saving
gonna
your
ask.
thoughts on Luna and Gozo. What are your thoughts?
Well, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the roster? Or do you want to start with Luna and Gozo?
Yeah, let's start with I'll say I was really surprised. I had it higher than 50-50 that Luna would make the team. I thought not that he was
Oh,
a lock,
yeah,
but I was really surprised he didn't make the team. I was not surprised that Gozo didn't make the team. I thought if they were going to take a flyer on somebody, it would be somebody out of a bigger market, like the players in
hmm
New York you're talking about. But I thought Gozo, of the two, I think Gozo, if he would have got the call, would have had an impact probably before Luna had an impact in the games because I think he's just a more dynamic player and what he brings is what the club might need, what the U.S. men's
sure.
national team might need. But I was more disappointed that Luna didn't make the team for Luna because I think, you feel for the kid who carried the team and played the last 17 out of the 18 games or something.
Yeah. Uh, for Luna, I thought like 80% chance, that he was going to be on that team. I thought he and Potch had the relationship that he'd built up the credibility with the group, and and with the coaching staff that he would be there. I watched the game today, and that has slightly changed how I'm thinking about it. I'm still massively disappointed for Diego Luna. But Poch is running this kind of 3-4-3 formation. That's how he started the game. He ended with kind of a 4-2-3-1, but he has liked to play Diego Luna on the outside as a winger. And I just don't actually think that that's Diego Luna's best position. He's not this like physical monster of a guy
No.
that will outspeed players or out physical players. He's a much more technical interior player, and Poch doesn't have one of those in his kind of A1 starting lineup. He has to change the whole tactics to create something like that, which is
He
what he
did
ended up
take
doing.
Zendejas, though. Isn't Zendejas kind of like Luna-esque, same
I think he's
position or
I think
similar?
he's a bit faster, and I think that's the guy that Diego Luna had to beat out. At the end of the day, Diego Luna needed to beat out Zendejas. Yeah, and I'm gonna say his name until it no longer is a word for me. But I think he could have done it. And I think if you take Diego Luna instead of Zendejas, like that it's fine. Genuinely it's
It's a
fine. I don't
26 player, right?
yeah. Um but the weird thing is I don't see a knocked on role for Diego Luna in that formation and in that style. And I don't think Diego Luna beats out like Tillman. And I don't think he beats out Weah. And I like I can you start to look at the guys that he needs to beat out to get on the field, and I don't think he does. And I'm on one hand I'm massively disappointed for Diego Luna. I absolutely think he should have been there. I think that his mentality is the biggest thing that should have gotten him there because he responds to hardship by fighting harder. And it bugs me
Yes.
that there's a bunch of those guys historically they don't. They
Reyna.
respond, yeah, they he's the big one. Respond to hardship by getting sad and calling
My
mom and
dad
dad and being
said,
like, "Can you help me?"
my dad said I should be on the team. My dad
Exactly.
said I should be
And
playing.
my dad said I should be, yeah, call the federation and figure it out. Like,
My mom called and talked to FIFA.
yeah, Diego Luna's not going where Gio Reyna's been the last couple of years and coming away playing less than 1,000 minutes a season, right? Diego
Yeah.
Luna is going to work his way, into a situation where he plays week in and week out, and he, is getting regular minutes and stuff like that. Gio Reyna is playing like 700 minutes a season, and he's getting 20, 15 to 30-minute cameos at the end of games that are decided, and I just don't know how that's like acceptable as a player week in and week out. And then, now you're in the national team and stuff like that. Like, and
I've
I'm not,
been,
I think Gio Reyna is a nice player and stuff like that. There's something in the attitude though.
I think that's interesting. It's an interesting generation of players that, um, I don't know if they've been too successful, but I think it might be the first generation of U.S. men's teams players that have already got what they've always wanted, right? They they're playing in Europe. They're making money, and their
Yeah.
focus is on staying in Europe, staying with their club, and making not that making money's bad. I'm just using that as an example, right? They're set. That's why you want to play the game. You want to have an impact, but there aren't enough um, in past teams. It felt like there were still a lot of players that were trying to make it to Europe, that were
Yeah.
trying to do more than just make it to Europe and have an impact. And it's kind of diminished playing for the U.S. men's national team as, a step down or a lateral step. It hasn't been like, hey, the next step going to Europe is to play for the U.S. men's national team. And maybe, I'm a casual U.S. men's national team fan. I don't follow all the time, but you always want support to support them. But it seems like there's just something off about this generation of players, and I wonder if, thinking too hard, if that's kind of it.
I think I think I agree mostly. There is
You don't
something
have to.
different
I
about
mean,
I think I don't think you're necessarily wrong. I can't point to anything where I'm like, no, that's wrong. Um the there is something different about this generation. And I was trying to think about it because I had this kind of piece that I said on designated pundits the other day about when Xavier Gozo's name was getting tossed around as somebody who could be a dark horse to be like the last guy in on the roster. And the thing I came down to was like fighting mentality. Xavier Gozo, I made the argument that Xavier Gozo is the model of a type of player that the US men's national team should be trying to recruit because he has a lot in common with the guys that represented the team during its most successful periods. Which is that he is a guy who will pick a fight with anybody at any time for any reason. And he loves the shade and he loves the smoke and he loves the dark arts and he never misses a chance to run away with the ball and pick up a stupid yellow card. He loves that kind of stuff. And the truth is that he and Diego Luna, they respond to hardship by battling, by fighting harder. And if you look at guys who used to represent the US men's national team and were some of its most successful periods and most successful players, and you look at like, oh gosh, the Clint Dempseys and the Winaldas and the
Landon
Alexi
Donovan.
Lawlesses, Landon Donovan, right? And look, they are all still, most of them are still working in soccer in some form or another, right? They're most of them now have become people who talk about soccer on TV. The interesting thing about it is you can tell that they loved the battle. They loved the fight and they loved that competition more than anything else because they are still picking fights with each other, their former teammates, for like nothing at all. Eric Winalda, not that long ago, went on some big rant diatribe on his podcast aimed at Landon Donovan, talking about dual nationals, right? And I don't think that their positions about dual nationals are all that different. They just love the game. They love the fight. They just want to battle it out, and they're picking fights with each other all the time. And this new generation of players won't do that. When they retire and become pundits and stuff like that, they will play nice. And you will see that that competition aspect of it ends somewhere, right? And Diego Luna and Xavier Gozo, and there are other players in this. I think Sebastian Berhalter is one of these guys. When when their playing careers come to an end and they transition and they start talking about the game on TV, they will pick fights with each other just because they love it. And
Yeah.
and I think the US men's national team needs that kind of stuff. Is it healthy emotionally? No. Therapy. They need therapy. But but it leads to these guys being able to punch up, right? When they play in these tough games against big teams, they are able to punch up and be more than the sum of their parts, where
Yeah.
these other guys are not competitive enough.
Well, I don't think they need to be. And I think that's the difference is these guys are more talented, right? I mean, you could
Mm-hmm.
argue they could be some of the most talented players to ever put on a U.S. men's national team kit, right?
They
So
are.
they
I don't
don't
think you
have,
need to argue it. I think they just are.
and they haven't had to fight. I think maybe that's a good point. Is they
Maybe.
haven't had to fight. I mean, they've obviously earned everything they have for the most part to get where they're playing now, and they haven't had to kind of fight through that. I always think, because it's Real Salt Lake, and I think Kyle Beckerman is one of the best examples of a player taking advantage of him. Pablo Mastroeni's talked about this, and he played in 2 World Cups, and he was talking about this, I think, post game recently about how when Bruce Arena called him, he told him, "Hey, you know what? You're not going to play. I'm calling you up. You're going to be on the team. You're not going to play. I love your attitude, um, and that's just it. Welcome to the team, but don't expect to play." And Pablo said, "Okay," hopped on the team and started the first game of the World Cup because he had something to fight for. And I don't know that these players, I mean, I think they're still kind of upset that their buddy Greg got fired, right? They didn't want to play in
Maybe. Yeah.
they didn't want to play in one of the tournaments because they were tired, or they didn't like Pochettino or whatever. They were mad because they lost their buddy. And we're at a point now where they can do that because they're really really good players. But when do we transition to? And it may be cultural too. Like in other countries, winning the World Cup is massive. In the United States, winning the World Cup is it massive? Is it to
We probably wouldn't have the big parade.
no?
Like you think about Argentina, right? They win it and like cities everywhere are just flooded with people and there's people like climbing onto bus stops and shutting down traffic and stuff like that. The US,
Yeah,
if the US won it this year here, right? What would like Salt Lake
yeah.
wouldn't shut down,
No,
you know.
yeah. So
There'd be
maybe
like there'd be like five of us on a street corner, not because people aren't watching, but because it's not in our culture.
yeah, and it's such a huge country. It's 40 times bigger than the United Kingdom, right? The United
Yeah.
States is. So there's a lot of things, and maybe I just having this conversation, I realized, man, maybe I'm being a little too hard on these guys because why should we expect them to think it's a massive thing when the rest of the country, doesn't think it might be that mass? So my apologies to the U.S. men's national team for being a little too harsh on them. But yeah, but I do think I would love to see those, just like everybody else, those hard knock stories and the hard luck and Kyle Beckerman, Pablo Mastroeni. I mean, Kyle Beckerman is the best
Yeah.
example of me for somebody that all right, we'll take Kyle because we need him, and then he goes in there and they only win when he starts, right?
I'm still so mad that he got benched for Jermaine Jones
Oh yeah,
in the
and
final game.
yeah,
Like that made no sense. The team had
none.
played so much better with Kyle was on the field.
Yep, that still makes me angry. So
Yeah, it still bothers me.
so
What do you think is possible for this U.S. men's national team in this World Cup?
almost anything, to be totally honest. And I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, what do I want? What would be the best outcome? Is the best outcome these guys flaming out and not coming out of their group, which would be really hard to do, and not
Yeah.
having a good run and firing up the fans and firing up the country to say, maybe even firing up the players to say, hey, you know what? We deserve better. Or will a deep run, is that what we need to where they make it to the corners or they quarters and they make a deep run and really fire up the fans? So I think anything is possible. I don't know what it's going to be. I think they get out of the group. I mean, they're taking a lot of third place teams are coming out of groups. So
Yeah, a
they'd
lot of third
really
place
have to be
teams.
really bad to not get out of their group. So I would obviously, let's win the thing. Let's do that first and then see what happens. But I don't know if that's even possible with this group. Like you said, I think who knows? Maybe they'll get in there and um, they get their teeth knocked in a little bit and they start fighting, and we end up with something we'll remember forever. I think it's going to be one or the other. We're going to remember it forever. It's either going to be good or it's either going to be bad. It's going to be like a missed opportunity or it's going to be um,
Yeah.
something fantastic that the country gets behind. So, what are
I
your
think
thoughts?
this
Maybe I'm not great at being a pundit.
yeah.
I love to watch the games and I love all the possibles, but I'm not good at saying this is what's going to happen.
I mean, Who is really? If it were easy, everybody would do it.
You're the pundit, not me.
I am, and I look in my in for Major League Soccer this season. I'm still in the positives. I'm up by like just about 5 units, which is good.
So
Uh,
want to explain that? It's 5 units of
so
that in wins,
5 units.
losses.
So what we do is sorry, this is a big side tangent to where we were going with this, but so how we do this is we make picks and we basically the way that we're tracking everything to make it very equitable is our picks are basically worth 1 unit, which is like one betting unit. For anybody listening who doesn't know, designated pundits, we look at Major League Soccer through the lens of gambling. Um, I I do the show with a couple of guys from New Jersey, who are a lot more into the gambling aspect than I am, but it's been a really interesting experience to look at the game in that way, and to have to think about the game that way. And we make picks and predictions on the teams, and then we talk about what we got right, what we got wrong, where it went wrong, that kind of stuff. We kind of accountability it. So each pick is a 1 unit bet. If you win it, you get whatever the return promised was. If you lose it, you lose 1 unit. And so I'm up 4.89 units on the season, um, which means I win more often than I lose, or my wins are at least big enough that if I were, to place, $1 on every game or whatever, I'd be up $4.89 on the season.
So that means you're in first place.
I'm actually in second place right now. One of the other guys is having a good season, and he's up almost 7 units. So I got some work to do
That's
to
pretty good in
catch him,
14, 15
but
games, right?
it's not bad. Our goal as a show is to be up uh 1 unit per week. So our goal as a show would be to be up 14 units
As a
collectively
show, yeah.
as a show. And we're not there right now, unfortunately.
Because third
When we,
place is really dragging you down.
yeah. Yeah, third place is really dragging us down. And he knows who he is when he listens to this. He knows who he is. We give him plenty of grief for it.
Tell him to read a
No,
paper. Go read the paper.
yeah,
Study.
he needs to rethink his models. It's fine.
Quit,
No,
quit flipping a coin.
exactly. I guess the point is though that a lot of it is just information and making really informed. We do a lot of study and then we try and make really informed decisions. And that's hard for this World Cup because there's a lot of unknowns. These teams are coming together in the last, week or two. And there are things. I think the US men's national team roster is going to be competitive, but I think there's some weaknesses that are built into it. There's a lot of assumptions that have been made. I think that they are really hoping that Tyler Adams can go the distance for the entire tournament and doesn't get hurt and he doesn't get, um, yellow card suspensions or anything like that. But if he pulls a hamstring week one, like this, the ceiling for what this team can accomplish, I think goes down in a big, big way.
Oh, knock on wood.
And yeah, knock on wood, because Mauricio Pochettino didn't bring in a lot of center midfielders and certainly not a lot of defensive center midfielders. And the drop off from Tyler Adams to the next guys in that group, Sebastian Berhalter or Christian Roldan are probably the next two who by trade are defensive midfielders. And that's a big drop. No disrespect to those two players, but it's a significant change to the team. And so I think this U.S. national team is going to be an interesting watch. I think they should get out of their group. I think they have even with the potential for an injury prone player like Tyler Adams to get hurt. Even with all of that, I think they have plenty of depth to get out of the group in one of the first two positions, not needing to rely on that third position. And then I think it just depends on the hand they get dealt in the knockout stages. I think they need to, with the expanded, you know,
Win 2 games in the knockout.
yeah, with the expanded groupings and stuff like that, you're not coming up against, well, you might come up. One of the potential outcomes is the group that has Germany in it. But mostly you should not have to face like a really incredible team the first round of the knockout. And so yeah, this US national team does need to
Is
make
Ghana
it.
anywhere in the schedule?
I didn't see them, but let's hope not. We are going to do some preview stuff with the Soccer Sharps team. They are basically the designated pundits, but they focus on Europe. So we're going to team up and do some stuff. And so hopefully, if you follow me on social media, you'll never see me like posting stuff about the betting. I really focus on like the soccer aspect of it. So if you follow me there, hopefully I'll have something worthwhile to say to preview some of the games or some of the upcoming things. But yeah, no, I think this U.S. national team, they've got a good opportunity. They've got a lot of good talent. I like the offensive talent they brought. Um, I like I like Balogun. I like Haji Wright. I like Florian. Sorry, I just said Balogun's name twice. I like Ricardo Pepi. I think all those guys are really talented forwards. It's the most talented forward like group that they've had in a long, long time. They should be able to score goals. Christian Pulisic, despite him not having had great form for AC Milan the last little bit, he's in good health, and that is a lot more important for him. They have a lot of options in that offensive grouping, which is why I thought it was hard for Diego Luna to not be included, but at the same time, I don't think he was beating those guys out for meaningful minutes. Um, and so like Zendejas is the guy I think that he had to beat out. I don't think you're gonna see Zendejas in this like I don't think you're gonna see him hit the field very often. I just think this team they have the opportunity to get into the knockout rounds a little ways. And I'll be really disappointed if they don't.
I think I'll be interesting to see. They've got Paraguay the first game on the 12th,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think they should be looking past them.
Nope.
Um, I think that obviously they should beat Australia, unless Lachlan Brook somehow made the team. I got to worry about that.
If he made the team and scored a goal against us, I honestly I loved that guy. I thought
I loved
I
him
thought
too.
I wanted him to succeed very badly. I was sad that he didn't.
Yeah, maybe a little culture shock coming to Utah from Australia, but and then they end up with Turkey. So they'll probably 3 4 points. I mean, they should get 9, but we'll see how they do. I am really interested to see how they come out with Paraguay because they're at home. The expectations have to be massive playing in the United States, and
Yeah.
it will be a nice tell to see if the moment is too big for them. See how they adapt to the moment. I would love to see them come out, 3-1 and just kind of dominate. But with this group, who knows? I mean, it's the World Cup. Everybody wants to win it, whether you're Paraguay or Curacao or Germany, England, Argentina, France. So, and let me
100%.
and we didn't talk too much about it. What do you where do you see? Well, let's finish with this. Where do you see Luna and Gozo? Do you think they get sold to kind of finish on some RSL thoughts?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. I do think that teams will be in for them this summer, although I do think it's sad for them, but I think it helps RSL's case that they didn't go to the World Cup. So teams might not be as urgent for them. I would like to see RSL either structure a deal or prevent a deal until the schedule change. Um, and I think that would be wise. I think I want both of those players to eventually move on, go to bigger and better things than what RSL can provide or Major League Soccer can provide. It's really Major League Soccer. RSL can provide anything that any other team in Major League Soccer can provide. They need to move on into something that's bigger than MLS. But I want them to do it the right way. I want them to go to teams that are genuinely good for them, and I want them to go to teams that, um, that want them to be there for their soccer things where they fit the culture, they fit the identity, and I want them to go at the right time in the right way. I want them to get there and participate in training camp. I want them to be there with the other new signings. I want them to build the relationships and get on board with what the team is doing before the season starts and not have to try and play catch up later on. I think that will help set them up for success. I think they're both, tremendous players and individuals who have it in them to make that jump. Um, I don't know. I think there will be teams that will still try and grab them this summer. I hope RSL can maybe delay it a year, especially with like Gozo's age, right? Hey, are you gonna start him in your first team this year? No. Leave him here on loan another year. Then you can have him at preseason next year. And he'll get the back half of this season, he'll get the abbreviated season next year, and he'll be gone before we start the full season under the schedule change. Diego Luna's in a little bit different situation with his age. He's kind of at that point where he should be making the jump.
22.
Yep. If you wait much longer, it starts to get to that point where you're like, oh, he's a little past when you should make the jump. If somebody comes with the right offer, I think he's gone.
And I would say I don't think anyone's coming with the right offer for Diego Luna. Just from I've heard um, that the offers they've had offers, but none of them have been even for both players. None of the none of the offers have been even worth talking about, thinking about. And I
Yeah.
think that's why I was really hoping that Diego made the U.S. men's national team because I think that would maybe have made a difference if he'd got into a game and had some effect there, some positive effect. But if you're asking me, um, I uh, I think Gozo. I think the odds are that Gozo goes to Europe, and I would be more surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Luna ended up making a move to just another MLS team. I don't know that
Ooh.
Luna is going to get the. I love the kid. I love what he brings, but I don't know that he's going to get the offers from a big club in Europe. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Spain. Maybe somewhere else that he might get. But
Do you
yeah,
he seems to have such a connection with the fans and the coaching staff and the front office have really embraced him. Do you think that RSL would rather sell him in the league rather than just make him a DP?
I think it depends on what Luna wants. Like if you're a player and you want to, does he want to stay here? Does he want to be on a team? Would he fit in Miami? Would he fit in LAFC? Would he fit uh, in another club that really, really, really wants him? That he thinks he can kind of expand his resume and maybe get to Europe. I think it's a no brainer that a club is going to take a flyer on Gozo if he continues to play the way he is
Yeah.
because he is just he has the intangible. Well, he has more than intangibles. Comparing the two, he's 6 foot plus. He's speedy. He's got presence, and he looks like, your um, championship level Thierry Henry, right? He looks like a player that plays in Europe. I mean, just the way he plays and his profile. Not talking about necessarily talent, but he's got the speed, he's got the size, he's got the grit. Diego
Hmm.
Luna he's got the grit, he's got the talent. He doesn't have the size, he doesn't have the speed, but he's got intangibles out the yin yang. And, how many big clubs, that's what they're looking for is intangibles. So yeah, I want, I want both of them to go have stellar careers somewhere else, but I wonder if Luna is going, if that offer is going to come. I want it to for him, but I don't know if it's going to come.
I worry that somebody's going to pony up the money, but that it will be a team that is a bad fit, right? So I think it was like Leeds was in for him last year or something like that. And like I don't think a team that is in the Premier League or the Championship that is not like a that's not at the pointy end of the spear is how I'll say that. I don't think that that's a good place for Diego Luna to go because they are teams that basically they win games by being physically disruptive, right? They go out, they put in really hard tackles, they run harder, they hit you, they kind of play in a way messy soccer and they do their best to stop the better teams, the teams at the pointy end of the sphere, from playing beautiful soccer. And
Kind of
that's
like
how
Hull.
they yeah, that's kind of how they win their games. And um Leeds when they were in for Diego Luna was one of those teams. They weren't playing beautiful soccer. And I'm like, I don't think Diego Luna thrives in that kind of environment. Also, I just think the English fans, like if you don't succeed immediately, you're kind of dead to them. And so I think English fans can be a little bit toxic. And I don't think that's good for his mental health. He's been very vocal about that. So I think that's the kind of thing that they might jump on. I think that Diego Luna does a lot better in a league like La Liga or a league like Serie A. Now, they still have plenty of physicality, they still have a lot of intensity, but the
A lot of,
emphasis and the styles are different. And I think they fit his skill set better.
yeah, yeah. I would love to see him. I try not to be pessimistic, but I just, um, from what I understand, the offers haven't been not respectable, but they just kind of been, people have just kind of been kicking the tires, so to speak, kind of poking
Mm,
around.
yeah.
Nothing has been like, hey, we want this guy or that guy. We want them to be on our team. They're just kind of saying, hey, you know, if you want to send him over here, fantastic. But yeah, I don't see him. The championship. I can't imagine him playing in the championship. 46 games. That's really, And if he goes to a Premier League team and they let him play in League One, League Two, you know, if it's just to go for an experience, then yeah, let's, maybe an offer comes and he says, hey, I really want to go. I want this experience. Then maybe the offer doesn't have to be massive. If
Yeah.
RSL
I,
doesn't want to stand in the way of someone that wants to go over there and see what he can do, kind of like Pablo
yeah.
and Bruce Arena with the World Cup. Just give me an opportunity, I'll take it.
I Yeah, I think that that is the most likely thing that an offer will come in and Diego Luna will recognize that it's the time and they will take the offer that is, and there might be multiple offers, but I think they'll end up taking kind of the offer that's there to be taken. And I worry that it will just be kind of the wrong place. And Diego Luna will go and he'll make the best of it and he will do the best he can. And I certainly hope it will be a successful experience for him, but I worry that um it will not be setting him up for success. So it will be setting him up for the trial rather than putting him into a place where he should succeed. But
Yeah,
I suppose that's the gamble that every player takes, right?
yeah,
It won't be any different for Gozo. Gozo, I think, has the traditional tools. He's got, like you said, the speed, the size, the skill set, whatever. If an English team comes for him and they're like, well, we would like to have an American on our team because people will watch Americans. Um, Xavier Gozo's a guy that could actually surprise them and force his way in ways they didn't expect.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, I certainly hope that he makes the best of it. But I think that that will be the thing that there will be an offer and somebody will recognize, hey, that this is kind of the time that you need to do this. Where if it doesn't work out, your career is not blown to pieces.
Yeah, and if you give it your shot, maybe that's all some players want. I just want to have my shot. I want to have the experience. I want to go somewhere. I want to play. Say I play in Europe, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather have. I'd rather go over there and fail than never go over there at all. And so I think that's kind of
Yeah.
where he's at, and I would love to see him get into a team that, I think of Miguel Almiron, right? He's not a big guy, and he went over and had some pretty good success. He might be a little different player, a little bit bigger, um, but kind of a similar style as Luna, maybe Miguel, a little
He
quicker.
was very he was a very technical player, definitely.
Yeah,
I think he's physically a little bit quicker, a little bit taller, but I don't think he's like necessarily a lot stronger than Diego is.
and
Um,
he had a nice run at Newcastle.
he had a nice run at Newcastle. I would say that I don't think he is as good at the pointy end of the field stuff as Diego Luna is. Even at his best, I don't think that was Miguel Almiron's game in the same way it's Diego Luna's game. And that was what Newcastle wanted him to do. So yeah, I guess I wouldn't say that Diego Luna can't succeed anywhere. He's a tremendous player. I think he's got the fight in him. He's got the
Yeah,
dog,
and
you know?
Diego. One thing about Diego, he is a player that everyone wants to succeed. I mean, how can you not love this kid
Yeah.
and want him to get out there and be the best he can be? I mean, same with Gozo, but just a little bit different, right? Gozo is just a fun, happy kid, and Luna is a guy that you can just tell that he has fought every step of the way, and you want him. You like you said, you don't want him to get over there and have it blow up his career, but I think he deserves a shot, and I would love to see that happen. So
He's a guy that takes his chances, and he bets on himself. And you think about his pathway, right? And he played for different like USL teams. He played in El Paso. We picked him out of the Charleston Battery, was it? Um, doesn't matter, but
I think it
he's
was
a
El
guy that
Paso
has
Locomotive. Yeah,
he's a guy that's taken a bit of an unconventional route to get to Major League Soccer and to get to the professional level. Um, I wouldn't bet against him in that way. He's a guy that takes his chances. A chance will come for him, and it might not seem like the best one. I don't know that RSL was his dream spot to land, but it's been a place where he's connected really well, and it's created the right opportunities for him. And Pablo, I think, was the right coach in the right place to help him develop and bring him along and stuff like that. And so who knows? Maybe he's got the luck, and you know, maybe he is also it's that combination of him being willing to take the chances, willing to bet on himself, and just having the luck that there's also the right people around him when he needs them to be there. I
yeah.
certainly
He
hope
spent
that's the
2 seasons
case.
at El Paso Locomotive. Well, a year and a half at El Paso Locomotive when RSL picked him up, but he also came through the San Jose Academy
That
and
was
did
it.
stick there. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would love. He's such a great player to talk about, and it's so fun to have players like uh, Luna, Gozo, Solans, Sanabria, all these youngish, Zach Booth. These youngish players
Mhm.
that uh, RSL hasn't had on the field all at the same time before. So tons of fun to talk about, and you wish them all the best. So Scott, I can't thank you enough for coming on and talking
Oh,
forever about
my pleasure,
football,
Brant.
soccer, which is what we love to do, right? We wouldn't be doing this. Thank you for joining me. Any final thoughts you want to leave with RSL random fans and soccer fans in general?
Oh, just I just want to say thank you again. It's a huge pleasure to be on and chat with you. And if you're listening, enjoy the World Cup. Don't forget, kind of why we do it, the love of the game and that kind of stuff. Hopefully we can make the next cycles a little better. Hopefully we can have a positive impact on the world, but don't forget to have some fun along the way.
Thank you. Enjoy the World Cup. That's a great way to leave it. So thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate your jumping on with us.